Hi, Carlos. How are you? Hi, Corey.
Hey, Deb.
I'm gonna,
Hey, Debbie.
I'm going to give you, Carlos, I'm gonna give you co-host, and then when I drop off, you'll be host, okay?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yep, that's fine. It should be a pretty short meeting today too. Debbie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Where can we get the recordings of the committee meetings?
I can upload them for you.
Okay, because Kevin was asking me for the one from last month. But I can check with him which one specifically he wants, and then I'll ask you, and then we can get it to him.
And we can upload it, not a problem.
Okay. Okay, thank
As
you.
long as I get that from the chair of the committee, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else that you want to share the co-host with, or just you?
Just me's fine.
Okay, great. All right, have a great meeting.
All right, thanks, Debbie.
Thanks. It was good seeing everybody last night.
Hi, everybody. I'm just gonna give folks another minute to hop on, and then we'll get started. But I'm hoping to keep it brief tonight. I know folks have been doing a lot of rezoning stuff, so I don't want to keep folks too long because I feel like I've been doing community board stuff every day for the past 3 weeks. Okay, cool. I think we can get going. Hey, Kevin. I just want to let you know, I just asked Debbie about recordings. She said that if I specifically request the ones that we want to see, she can upload them and then we can get them to you. Did you want
Great.
the ones just from last meeting? Last
Yeah,
committee
that was
meeting?
the one. Yeah, that's the only
Okay.
one I had trouble attending. So since that's
Okay, cool.
thank you.
All right. I will email her and ask for that and I'll copy you and then we'll get it to you.
Thanks.
Okay. So two things on the agenda for today. And then I know Corey wanted to bring up a few things that we'll talk about. But just starting with the flooding tracker. So I know the office had sent out an email with the Google form that I made. I wanted to keep it really simple because I wanted to encourage people to actually fill it out, understanding that it also is most helpful if people are also filling out 311 as well. So I think my question for folks right now, and knowing that this can kind of be ongoing, I don't really have an actual end date for when this will close, but I was thinking sometime in the summer. But do people think that what I created is simple enough for people to want to fill it out? And if there are any ideas for spreading the word about trying to get this to more people. I don't know if I want to like put out flyers, but I also want more people to be aware of it. So accepting comments or suggestions on those two things.
I think the form is great. I filled it out once. It's easy enough and it works on mobile. So that's nice. One idea I saw last night that there were flyers from Nydia Velasquez's office about the flood
Mhm.
solutions fair that's coming up in June. Um, I can share a link to that if anybody that doesn't have information. But maybe we could like have a little printout to pass around there because it'll kind of be like residents in the area who are already like thinking about flooding.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Or at the very least, like that also gives me an idea that it might be a good idea to have like we can ask like the electeds if they can like add it to their newsletter or something. So that way it goes to like people who are kind of paying attention, not just random folks on the street. That's awesome. Thanks, Elena. Anyone else have thoughts? and Alexa, we were just talking about the flooding tracker that we had sent around. If folks had any ideas for improvements or edits to it, and then ways to get the word out more about the tracker.
Carlos, how would I have access to the tracker?
So I had Debbie send out an email to the full board. So I guess you don't get those emails.
I'm not getting
Okay.
anything that goes to the full board.
Okay, so I'll share it with you directly, and I can also ask Debbie to share it with the public members. I think in general, I think that'd be a good thing.
Carlos, can I go ahead and raise this as an issue? I've been the public member on this committee for 6 months now, and I just can't get information. So I'm not getting emails. I'm not getting access to documents. You know, I tried for a month to get the recording from the last meeting, was unsuccessful. So thank you for facilitating that. But this just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I hear you, and I will definitely raise that. I can raise that with Anatole and with Debbie about how to better facilitate that. I will say I'm not surprised. If I say send something to the full board, like I guess that means like board members only, which is like, you know, I don't think that's anyone's fault. But in terms of you being able to get stuff, I can definitely raise that for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments about the flooding tracker before we move on? Okay. The next thing is just following up on the walkthrough with the Parks Department. So if folks don't remember, Eric Getz or Goetz, I can't remember how he pronounced his last name, offered to do a walkthrough with me of some of the parks in the district. I'd really like to include committee members if possible, just because I think, you know, me, myself, I know the parks in Sunnyside, but I don't really know the parks in Woodside particularly well. Maybe a little bit Long Island City, just because it's like all the stuff in the water. But it'd be good to get some other perspectives. So I think I want to follow up with them and like potentially propose some dates. So I don't want everyone to like go through their calendars at this moment. But I think sometime over the summer would probably be good if we can find a weekend that works for a lot of people. So I'll probably send out a poll, or I'll have Debbie send out a poll about just like when would be a good weekend for folks to do. I'm thinking we can try to like keep it a couple hours. I don't want it to be super long, but I also don't want to leave any of the neighborhoods out. So we'll probably have to be like traveling by train a little bit. So it might take a little bit of time. But if folks have ideas for specific like parks we want to visit, because we're not going to be able to visit every park in the district, but any hotspots that people know about, it'd be good for me to know at this point, so that I can kind of like continue to discuss with parks about what they want to do, and try to get our ass in there.
Carlos, and is the idea for the walkthrough just bringing to light like maintenance issues, or like what was the origin of the idea?
It was kind of just like a general offer
Okay.
to like, I think do like, you know, to walk and talk about like, you know, maybe we could talk about the things that Parks is doing, like whether it's like, you know, they're actually doing construction on an area, or this park is going to be upgraded in this time, maybe some issues that they might be experiencing. And then I think in turn, kind of hear from us about like any specific points of concerns we have. So it was very open-ended. And I'm willing to kind of form it into something that we want it to be, or at least try. Something that I think I want to hear from them is like anything that we can kind of do to be helpful. Like I know like we'll always have our asks of like things we want to see in parks, but if there's any specific like park that like might be you know, it's not getting the capital funding it needs from the city, or if there's, you know, they only have a certain amount of staff that's like not sufficient for like the maintenance of a park, like letting us know, so that we can kind of help to advocate for whatever the parks might need to be operating at full capacity or be in good condition. That's kind of like one of my goals with that.
I'll also say too, I think, given that capital projects take so long, if there's anything that's on their radar in the next years that we could know is going to be upgraded so that we have more context of what those projects are and we can already know the spaces and know the needs. I think that could be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Carlos, I'm also wondering if it would be worth maybe reaching out to Caricia from the Arts and Culture department. Just because like very often arts and culture are not really included in all of these public art pieces, and they just sort of expect the artist to do all the work. So maybe even identifying places within these parks that could be opportunities for art. And that could be something that could be a nice way to connect some of the different committees.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We could even maybe do a joint meeting in the future about that.
Absolutely. Love that.
Okay, great ideas. Anyone else thoughts? And if you think of anything afterwards, also, I think we'll definitely have more conversations about this. We'll definitely, I think I want to try to get to parks now so that when we get to the next committee meeting, I can have a little bit better sense of like what they're willing to do. So we can get them ideas, because we're not going to meet again until after our June meeting. We're not going to meet again until September. And the walk will probably happen over the summer. Okay, cool. All right, I'll follow up on these things. Thanks for the ideas, guys. And we'll talk about it again next month. Corey, did you want to maybe bring up your things for discussion?
Sure.
Feel free to take the floor.
Awesome. So hey folks, Corey Hannigan, also on CB2. I'm on the transportation committee. So I live in South Sunnyside, right south of the boulevard at Celtic Park. And it's probably no news to the people in this group, but there is absolutely zero public lawn space in the neighborhood. There have been like a round of of playground and park redesigns that have gone through DPR. And I've been disappointed to see like each one of them add like a dog run and new seating space, but no open lawn space. So, I wanted to raise the attention of this group, bring up a couple ideas I have for maybe how we could move forward with this, but just gauge if you guys are interested and he's going on this little crusade with me to find some open space, because it's sad, right? There's Sunnyside Gardens is there, but if you don't live in the Gardens District, you don't get it. So I'm stuck schlepping out like over a mile to Doughboy for that pathetic little slice of sloped grass, just to kind of lay and get away from the concrete and asphalt environment that we're all stuck in. So one question I had is, I know that there's an ongoing capital project at Torsney Playground. I looked at the project page on DPR's website, and it looks like the stakeholder feedback period is closed. So I was curious to hear like if open lawn space was brought up as a request by this committee, and if not, is it too late? Like, can we put a late request in, work any context we have? Is that something that, is doable in terms of getting that into the design considerations? That's like the first question.
Yeah, I'll start on that. And like, Lauren, if you remember anything, because you've been on the committee actually longer than I have. But from what I understand, the design is basically finished because we just sent a letter supporting it, I believe like 2 months ago.
Great.
And from what I understand, when they presented to us, they were talking about how they had expanded the amount of grass space, even though it was moderate. Like, maybe that's that's a little generous saying moderate, but like they explained it a little bit. And they also provided this like turf field for kids to kind of play on. There wasn't like open space that was, kind of like not just rubber or concrete, or asphalt. So those are things they had been implemented. So I'm assuming that was feedback that they had got in the past.
Okay.
But so I don't know what we could formally do to request more green space, or I'm sorry, more like grass space.
Yeah.
I mean, I could always like bring that up to them and be like, listen, like I know this design is done, just as something that was like important to some members of the board, to the extent that like anything could change, like this is something we care about. But like I would also want to add, like, by no means like slow down on the process. Like I
Right.
do want this construction to happen. It's gonna take a while. Like I don't like the park's gonna not exist for a little while, so it's gonna be frustrating. So I don't want to gum up the process at all. If we do
Yeah.
make that request.
I definitely wouldn't want to either. I'd be curious if you can share the, design that they shared with this committee, just to see it. I will say I'm a little disappointed if it's turf. It's great for kids to have space to play in, but can't really picnic on turf, or lay down on it.
Yeah, no, the
So,
turf is not for picnicking.
yeah.
I think the biggest things were they tried to add more seating, because like more people wanted to be able to sit in the park.
Right.
And then I think there's a little bit more, like there's basically no grass space
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think they
That's
add-
why when
did
you said
add a
expand,
little
I
bit
was
of
kind
it.
of like, expand from what?
Yeah. So there's a little bit more now, or there will be a little bit,
Okay.
like maybe enough for like, a couple of people to sit on it.
All right, yeah.
But I
If
don't
you
know if
can-
anyone else remembers something from the presentation that they want to bring up.
I mean, definitely, I remember the seating and the different types of seating, some having backing and others without it. And I think the presentation talked about more greenery. So that could be whether that's plantings or whether that is grass, like that's kind of
Mhm.
TBD. But that's I think that's what I do remember. But I think there was for sure more greenery requested as part of the community engagement. And I think their response was to add it, whether that's through planting or turf. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I would love to see, any information about the design they shared with you guys. My suspicion is probably the same types of treatments they've done at a recent park in Woodside, and closer to me at what is it? Noonan, right? That it's like seating with trees, but it's all like within a concrete kind of environment. Not that that's the end of the world, but yeah, okay, good to know. But yeah, if you can share that, whatever
Yeah,
they
I don't-
presented, I'd love to see it.
I don't have it, but I mean, it might be online, and then if not, we could ask for it. Like it's probably public information at this point. So
Yeah, the project page is light on details. It says,
Okay.
yeah, started August 2024. Design is 5% complete. Projected completion date November 2025. That's about it.
yeah,
Cool.
let me ask them for it.
Awesome. Okay, then the next topic, it's related, right? So I was, because I'm insane, I was watching the live streams of presentations to city planning, to the planning commission, and Parks actually made a presentation about their proposed walk to a park site selection and acquisition program. And so this is sort of a proposal to let them get acquisition authority for a batch of non-residential sites suitable for park development. So they wouldn't be like, just grabbing a bunch of land, but it would basically be like allowing them to acquire the ability, right, or like to be approved for the ability to acquire these properties. If they came up, they would have a streamlined way to make them into parks or something else. So I sent an email to Carlos and the board with a link to that timestamp. But I think it'd be great if we invited them to present. They identified 19 community boards that would be eligible for this program. CB2 is one of them. The presentation at the Planning Commission was focused on BK5 and Queens 3. But I mean, I think it would apply here too. And that could be like, I feel like a really great way for us to feed them properties that we would like them to consider acquiring. I know in transportation, we're all at Twitter about this sort of triangular shaped plot that DOT currently owns, and they're trying to dispose of it. And the owner that's slated to get it is likely going to pave it so they can develop on it. And it's in Blissville. It's got mature trees on it. So we're like trying to fight back against that. And I feel like that'd be like a perfect candidate for this kind of program. So is that something that we could like request them to come and share with us and see if they want our support?
Yeah, I will definitely ask. if they can come present about it. I don't know anything about this, so I'm curious to learn more just in general. The other idea I have is like also like if we do our walkthrough, it would be also great to maybe talk to them preemptively about sites like this, like whether they can acquire them or if there's any like lots that we could potentially do something on. You know, I don't know how like they just like unkept grass. Like I don't know if that happens, but like even if it's like a community garden that people can like go sit in that has some grass, like I don't know what the opportunities are, but it'd be great to prompt them a little bit before we do that walkthrough. So maybe we can even visit a site that has potential. And then talk through it then, because I wouldn't want to just like bring it up at the walkthrough and then they're like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. And then we don't actually like go see anything.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't watching super closely, so I don't know if like they're waiting on DCP to give them the authority to do this, or if they already have the program and they want the ability to go into these two community boards and do it. You know, I didn't really look too much into the details. But what I did learn is that they're basically looking at, you know, non-residential properties of a certain size that, you know, are either vacant or undeveloped, you know, that like if they came up for resale or something, that it would be the type of property that parks would be interested in acquiring, right? So it doesn't even have to be like currently open space. It could be like a dilapidated property, right? That like when the owner comes to sell it, like Parks would already have the, you know, a go ahead to sort of acquire that and turn it into a park. So yeah. And Kevin, I heard your angst about getting links. I would love to share these links with you. I can forward the email I sent to the board if you want to just let me know your email address.
That'd be great. I will put it in the chat.
Awesome.
Thank you.
But that's it. Nice and easy.
Any other thoughts about Corey's second point?
Corey, would you mind sending it to me as well? I'll add my email to the chat.
Sure.
But yeah, I think this is a really it's an exciting program to hear about. I feel like I live a couple blocks away from Celtic Park and or Celtic Park, and there's no park space around here. So a parks acquisition program is a really good opportunity, and especially if we can get a sense of what their criteria are for selecting sites.
Yeah.
I think then we can kind of get ahead of it by having an idea of what sites would be good since we know the area.
Well, if you're a fellow South Sunnysider, you know, at some point, my dream is to open up new entrances to the cemeteries from the west side.
Yes, I was gonna say, as a South Sunnysider during the pandemic, I was spending every day in the grassy areas of the cemetery because that's really all we have over here.
Yeah, and you have to really dogleg around to get to some of those entrances.
Yeah, you do, and to get out by 4:45, so you don't get
so
trapped.
in our lifetimes, maybe we'll have more direct access to the cemeteries.
Yeah, I would love to see Calvary do something more akin to like Greenwood Cemetery and exist a little bit more for the community around here and plant more trees and all that. But
I know I'm way off topic, but did you hear Mira Joshi is like taking over Greenwood Cemetery?
No
She's
way.
like the former open space
Yeah, I did
deputy
see that
mayor.
today.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't hear
Good
that.
for them. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Anyone have any old or new business that was not on the agenda we haven't already discussed?
Carlos, was there an update on the dog run for Murray Park? Like
Still nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did we end on that? They had proposed some alternate sites.
They suggested locations that were potentially feasible, and we told them that we would want them to look at all of them in the order of like closest proximity to the current dog run. And they have not gotten back to us yet. And I've asked a few times, and I know Debbie has as well. So I'll follow up. You know, I think I'll prioritize trying to get the parks walkthrough set up, and then that can be a good way to bring it up again, looking for a more direct answer.
Just to clarify, this parks walkthrough, is that something you guys were already in discussions with planning, or is that related to like my thing? Because what I was asking for is just for them to present what they presented to DCP, but
Yeah.
like to
Yeah,
this
I got you.
committee. So they
Yeah,
can just
no,
do
the parks
that like
walkthrough was
in a meeting.
offered. The parks walkthrough was offered by Parks at a meeting that they came to. So yes, I still
Fortuitous
want them to do the
timing.
presentation. I'm sure it won't be the same people with the presentation as, you know, who we'll do the walkthrough with. If the walkthrough gets scheduled. It was a generous offer. We'll have to see if they can stick to it.
Might come.
Maybe. I don't know.
You can say no.
They offered no. I feel like I don't really care. They offered it to me, and I'm going to ask them to let me allow committee members to come. So I don't know how excited they will be about that idea first, and then if they're okay with that, maybe I'll ask about other people. So order of operations. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. I said I would get you out by 7. And just generally speaking, thanks everyone so much for all the work and time you've put into the Long Island City rezoning stuff. I know we still have like more to go, but it's a lot of work and we're doing good work for the community. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
All
Have a
right.
great night.
Take care.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
soon. Bye.